Welcome to the woods. Welcome to 2022. And we're right in the woods today. I'm underneath a rather large Douglas fir because the heavens have opened and it's raining. I'm not sure if you can hear that on the video or not, but we'll do our best to get through it like we do everything else. Happy New Year, people. Welcome to all the new subscribers. There's been a few in the last week or two. And welcome back to all the old subscribers. It's lovely to have you here. So what have we learned? What have we learned from the previous year? Well, there's been many lessons. Many things that have surprised us. For some, the amount of people that have continued to comply, that have gladly accepted this new normal we now live in. For others, it's been a bit of an eye-opener how fast these new elites have managed to roll out their plan. And it was with some speed and some success. It shouldn't have been a lesson, but it has been for some, how the media have gone along with this new narrative and completely ignored any opposition to it. Nor should it have been a lesson that the old tech platforms, like the one I'm speaking to you on and a few others to mention, have done exactly the same and censored any opposing narrative, banning people who continue to speak out. So let's hope this video that isn't really going to touch on the issue at hand, but talking about hope, because I have a lot of hope. I spoke in 2 videos back, I think, how confident I was that things would change, and I want to tell you why. When I first started on my journey to living off-grid, in the middle of these beautiful woods, it didn't happen straight away. It took quite a while to get here. And I've touched on, I think the very first video I did was why I would do this. And when I used to speak to people about how the system was increasing its control over the population and how that system was denying people an authentic reality, they didn't really get it. And this was some 10-15 years ago. They didn't really understand it. And much the same a little further down the road when I started to talk to people about how I was going to go off grid and live in a cabin in the woods. Many people didn't understand it. A lot of people told me I was stupid. That was something that left-wing hippies did in the 60s and 70s, and I'd probably die of cold or some mad illness. But the reason these people didn't get it was because life was comfortable. And I understand that. If you look at today, even the poorest person in Western Europe would have been considered extremely wealthy 100, 200 years ago. There's more money around. You've got more options on what you can spend that money on. And it's difficult to sidestep that consumerist mindset. So I was met with confusion and sometimes hostility when I tried to explain to people why I was doing this and how the system really wasn't for me. And I want to get back to the first thing I just mentioned a minute ago, which is how so many people have gone along with this. And why that gives me hope. And that might sound confusing, so I'll explain it to you. As I progressed to building this cabin and continued to talk to people, it became apparent to me that over that 10-year period, people were changing. People's ideas were changing. And as much as most people I knew were comfortable, they were starting to realise that they weren't happy. A lot of people were waking up. They were realising that even with the advances in technology and medicine and automation, that their lives weren't any easier. In fact, they seemed to be working longer. And the money they earned, as much as they had more things to spend it on, nothing ever brought them happiness. And that's a horrible feeling. And more people were waking up to this idea that something was wrong. And it wasn't just the people I was speaking to. This seemed to be happening right across Europe and in different countries throughout the world. The problem was that as much as these people waking up and thinking something's wrong, they didn't really understand what it was. So they were looking for answers. They were looking for change. And we saw an outpouring of this in the rise of populist movements across Europe. Not, I don't think, because people suddenly switched their ideological allegiance from one party to another, but because they knew something was wrong, because deep down they craved change. To what, they were unsure, but it had to be different. So you saw a rise of these populist parties. And here in the UK, probably the biggest show of this was Brexit. And it was divisive. But there were so many people who just wanted to give the system a bloody nose, that understood deep down that things were wrong. 100 different reasons. Some of them they didn't understand themselves, but they craved change, and this looked like a way to get change. With Trump in the States, again, divisive, but so many people just looking for change. So many unhappy people. So many people who had started to wake up. And again, I think many of them didn't understand what it was that was wrong, or what it was they even wanted. They just knew they didn't want what they had. The waking up in the morning and going to work and earning your money and spending that money on a never ending, ever increasing number of consumables to go to work the next day, the next week, the next year, spend the money and feel isolated with nothing to belong to. The church has been taken away, your community's been taken away, you've been taught that you're an individual, you're the only person that matters, just look after yourself. So you do. And it leaves a hollow feeling. And a lot of people were feeling like that. Millions of people were feeling like that. So they jumped at the chance of Brexit. They jumped at the chance of Trump. They jumped at the chance of a new political ideal. And alas, they were all lied to. Nothing changed. The system was still in place. Their lives got no better. And now they were confused and angry and disheartened and depressed and atomized yet again. For one brief moment they belonged to something. They belonged to that new political party. They belonged to the Trump campaign or the opposition campaign. They belonged on one side of Brexit. They felt passionate. And now they understood they were lied to. And that was taken away from them again. And now they're merely an individual, living in a modern world, back to understanding that something's wrong. And it was at that point that the system gave them something to focus on, something new, where they could become a masked hero, where they could save lives, where they could belong and help everyone. And they jumped at that chance. They jumped at that chance to belong, to have a goal that was bigger than them. A lot of people were happy to do it, to do anything apart from the mundane, the banality of work and buy. Work and buy. And they're still doing it. They belong. And woe betide the man who stands up against them and points out it's wrong. They don't care. They'll believe anything for the moment. But slowly, as with the last cases, people are coming to the realization that they've been lied to, that they're not heroes saving lives, that in some countries draconian measures to restrict their population's freedom have gone further than anything we've ever seen. And it's true that in other countries things haven't gone quite so far, quite so fast yet. But people aren't blind. And as much as they really don't want to believe it, they're starting to understand that yet again they've been lied to. And when they can get rid of that cognitive dissonance and truly understand, they're angry. And there's thousands of people waking up every day. There were millions of us who never complied, and those numbers grow every day. And we should welcome them, and we should help them, because as the numbers grow, this plan they have, the likelihood of it succeeding diminishes. It grows smaller with every person who wakes up. And through the last year, I've heard so many people say that it's pointless trying to talk to the normies. Never stop. You will be met with confusion and hostility. But sometimes it sinks in. In 2 weeks' time, they're on your side. Thousands of people every day are understanding that they've been lied to. The numbers are already too high for the system to cope with. And we stand a chance this year of crashing their plan. But that's not the end. They're going to double down. They'll have a backup plan. They'll roll out something else. They will try again. But it's going to get harder and harder each time for them. Because people are wising up. People are understanding. You lied to me 20 years ago. You lied again 10 years ago. You lied 5 years ago. You lied with Brexit and you lied with this. Why should I believe you now? So never stop talking to people. And have hope. The numbers, although we're a minority, are on our side. We're already too large for them to handle. And the more of us that come on board, the harder it is for them to roll out the next thing. But as I said, that's just the beginning. Because all those people that knew that something was wrong, they were right. They were right. So we need to learn from our past, but look to the future. Because of the system we've got led us to that depressing, atomized, individual reality. Maybe there needs to be something new. And maybe those ideas can start with you. How do we move forward? I think we all know that some of these people need to be under no illusions that when this racket is brought to an end, they'll stand no chance of ever gaining control again. But we do need something to put in its place. And that's where the discussion starts. And that's where the hope lies. On a better tomorrow. And it starts with this new year. So thank you for listening. As always, welcome to the woods and welcome to 2022, our year. See you later, people.